It's time to lock in. We're talking SEC, college football, and more. This is AP as we see it.
I'm all about that action. I'm all about that action. I'm all about that action. I said I'm all about that action.
I'm AP Stedham from LA, Lower Alabama. This is AP as we see it, a syndicated weekly 1 hour show dedicated to discussing the Southeastern Conference, college football, always keeping an eye on the national scene and other sports as well. We want to welcome our sponsors. We want to thank them so much for their loyalty and their collaboration. We'll start off with Greer's Markets. Remember now, 29 locations, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi. The holidays are coming up, so you can purchase those turkeys and ham dinners. They have the coloring contest for the children, the recipe contest. Lucy always has her recipes available, so it makes it easier for you when you're preparing for large groups. Also, we want you to check out the groceries to go. If you can't make it down to Greer's, you could check online, groceries to go, and they'll bring everything right to your house, your venue, your office, for your parties, for the holidays. And remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. So we want to thank Greer's Markets for being one of our sponsors as well. We have the Wind Creek, which is located at 3 locations in Alabama, Atmore, Montgomery, and Wetumpka. And Wind Creek, you can be a participant as a player. You can also take advantage of the amenities, the spa, the movie theater, the cooking school, the restaurants. So check out all the Wind Creek locations in the state of Alabama, Atmore, Montgomery, and Wetumpka. And then we have also Dr. Jason Northcutt. And Dr. Jason Northcutt is located in Robertsdale, Alabama. Not only does Dr. Jason Northcutt offer basic full-service dental treatment, but Dr. Jason Northcutt has developed a niche within the practice where he provides comprehensive dental implant services such as single implants, bone grafting, and full mouth reconstruction. Dr. Jason Northcutt has been highly trained in those disciplines to offer comfortable and long-lasting solutions to major dental problems. So come by and see Dr. Jason Northcutt and his staff at Robertsdale Dental Care, 251-947-3636. And we also want to thank our sponsor in Dallas, Texas, the Aloft, which the Aloft Dallas Downtown is a Marriott boutique hotel within walking distance to favorite attractions, the JFK Museum, American Airlines Center, Reunion Tower, and Museum District. Work out at their 24-hour fitness center and follow up with a refreshing dip in their pool. You can explore the city and return to the hotel's popular WXYZ bar to mingle over cocktails and savory bites. So call 214-761-0000 or visit www.aloftdallasdowntown.com. So those are our sponsors. Like I say, Greer's Markets, Wind Creek, Robertsdale Dental Care, and the Aloft Dallas Downtown. We also like you to check out our social media platforms at AP Stedham and also at AP As We See It on Facebook, Instagram, and also the X account as well. We have a lot of videos when we're covering different ball games. This past week, excuse me, I was at the Army-Navy game, and as a bonus, I covered the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Philadelphia Eagles. So you can check out those videos on their social media platforms. But we have a lot of things to discuss. We have 3 excellent guests. We're going to have Heath Shuler, the former Tennessee and NFL quarterback and former congressman from North Carolina. We have Bob Kessling, the voice of the Tennessee Volunteers, legendary. He's going to be retiring after the basketball season. And we have Trevor Groves, the owner-publisher of CUTigers.com. He'll be discussing the Clemson and versus Texas game in Austin, Texas, the playoff game. But anyway, that first game would be Tennessee travels to Ohio State. I think weather will not be a factor. It'll be about 25 degrees. I know Tennessee's been practicing in that type of weather in Knoxville. It gets cold there as well. So I don't think that'll interfere with their ability to throw the football, to execute their offense. So it'll be a good ball game. I think Ohio State, the pressures is mounting there because they lost to Michigan. So I think that Tennessee has an opportunity to play, I think, slightly looser than Ohio State. I think there's more pressure on Ohio State. because their coach lost to Michigan and Tennessee. Those fans are super excited. They've been gobbling up the tickets. I know that's been a concern of the AD from Ohio State. And he's mentioned to the Ohio State Buckeye fans, please hold on to your tickets and don't sell them to the Tennessee fans. So that'll be interesting in and of itself. But it should be a contested ball game. I think Tennessee is a 7.5-point underdog. But they run the ball very well and play defense. That's a good formula for winning playoff type games, and especially in weather where maybe the passing could be affected. I don't think it will be on Saturday night in Columbus, Ohio. Then we have that second game between Clemson versus Texas. Those teams have never met. So Clemson will travel to Austin, Texas. I think the pressure's on Texas and their coaching staff because the two times they played a difficult team was Georgia, and they've lost. They've lost both times. So I think their best win is probably against Texas A&M this season on the road. But Texas will have a chance to satisfy their fans' appetite because Texas is a school that believes they're one of the tops in the country. They haven't shown that in 50 years, but they believe they're one of the top schools. And now's their chance. This is the inaugural entrance into the SEC. They made the championship game. They were not successful. Now they're in the college football playoff. The very first time they had the 12 teams and they earned a berth, rightfully so. But now the pressure's on them. And I think Clemson was a team with 2-3 weeks before the season ended. They had aspirations to be in the playoffs, but they had to wait on other teams to lose. And Miami went to Syracuse and lost. So Clemson was in the championship game, played a tough SMU team, ended up with a 56-yard walk-off field goal to win in a dramatic fashion. So Clemson's certainly excited to be in the playoffs for the very first time. As I said, the 12 teams vying for that national championship to be played in Atlanta. But anyway, one of the other things I wanted to discuss, we had the Heisman winner, Travis Hunter from Colorado won. I just always announce my votes. We vote for 3 people every year, and when I announced my vote, I voted number 1, Dylan Gabriel, the quarterback of Oregon, University of Oregon, led his team to an undefeated season, had some nice numbers. Ashton Jeanty, the running back from Boise State, led his teams to the playoff. And then Curtis Rourke, their transfer from the MAC school, Ohio University, I believe, to Indiana. And Indiana had never won 10 games. Think about that. In the history of their program, they're in the playoffs. Indiana. And that's right. I said Indiana in the college football playoffs. Representing the Big Ten as well. So that was a milestone achievement, and I felt that their quarterback deserved some consideration to be among the Heisman finalists, so I voted him number 3. So my votes were the quarterback, Dylan Gabriel from Oregon, the running back, Ashton Jeanty from Boise State, and the quarterback from Indiana, Curtis Rourke. They all had sensational seasons, and I was very happy to cast my vote for those 3. But in the next 3 segments, we're going to have a guest. As I said, Heath Shuler, quarterback from Tennessee and the NFL and former congressman. We're going to discuss some of the issues in college football besides the Tennessee and the Ohio State matchup this Saturday night. Then we'll talk to Bob Kesling, the legendary voice of the Volunteers, who's retiring after the basketball season. Then we'll have Trevor Groves. He's very knowledgeable about Clemson, owner and publisher of CUTigers.com. But I'm looking forward to this weekend to watch these games. I will be traveling to the West Coast for the holidays and be covering the Rose Bowl game, which is the winner of the Tennessee-Ohio State game. Will play Oregon, the number 1 team in the college football playoff ranking. So we'll be on the West Coast next week. But I'm very interested to watch these games. The other game that will be played, other games will be Indiana. As I said, Indiana playing Notre Dame, in-state ball game. I think that's the highest priced ticket, as you could imagine. 2 in-state teams, Indiana and Notre Dame. Riley Leonard, the quarterback from Fairhope, Alabama, via the transfer from Duke University. I think it's going to be very competitive. I think all these games will be competitive because these teams are going to lay it all on the line. And then you have SMU from Dallas, Texas, traveling to Penn State. It'll be probably in the 20s for that game. I think they might have some snow as well. But I think for one game, all these teams will survive the weather and they'll be able to operate and execute their game plan. I don't think it will affect the team because mentally they've been preparing. And I think it's something that they can overcome. And I'm just looking forward to all these 4 games on the weekend. The one on Friday night, Indiana, Notre Dame, and then the other 3 on Saturday. Excuse me. But and another thing I love about these games, you're seeing teams play against each other that maybe have never competed or rarely scheduled each other for the playoff game. So that's something also that intrigues me about the college football, having the 12 teams and trying to vie for that championship, which will be held in Atlanta, Georgia, the 20th of January. So the playoffs run from December 20th of December 20th to January 20th. So that's a month of college football, keeps the heightened intensity and interest, and that's something different. And like I said, college athletics now is really professional because you have the NIL, you have the transfer rules, which is a form of free agency. You have the NIL, which is a form of payment, and then you have the playoffs. So it looks like it's professional, and it is. And it's been professional for a very, very long time. But anyway, we're going to be back after these messages with AP. As we see it, our guest will be Heath Shuler, the former Tennessee NFL quarterback and the former congressman from North Carolina. We'll be right back after these messages with AP as we see it. I'm AP Stedham with Dr. Jason Northcutt of Robertsdale Dental Care.
AP, not only do we offer basic full-service dental treatment, but I also have developed a niche within the practice where I provide comprehensive dental implant services, such as single implants, bone grafting, and full mouth reconstruction. I've been highly trained in those disciplines to offer comfortable and long-lasting solutions to major dental problems.
Come by and see Dr. Jason Northcutt at Robertsdale Dental Care. Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greers.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. And we're back with AP as we see it, and we have a very special guest, a friend of the show, Heath Shuler, former SEC Player of the Year, #1 draft choice in the NFL, former Tennessee volunteer quarterback, played in the NFL a number of years, and also a former congressman from North Carolina. Welcome back, Heath Shuler, to our show.
AP, thanks so much for having me back on the show.
Oh, yeah, it's a real pleasure. I know you are super excited for this Tennessee team that's going to be traveling to Columbus, Ohio. We had a little conversation. Your son Navy is a reserve quarterback and your daughter's on the dance team, so you've got both feet involved in this situation.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, with both my wife and I have gone to Tennessee now. Both of our kids go there. It's really been a dream come true to be able to watch both of them on the field at the same time, and just does the heart good. And it's a great time of the year to be in the playoffs now and getting to see them travel along with the team, so it couldn't be better.
Heath, I know it's a cold weather situation, but I know it gets cold in Knoxville, but I think the team will be ready. It's one ball game. You have to survive one ball game in the cold. So, but how would you characterize this matchup, Heath, against Ohio State?
It's going to be a really tough matchup, but I really think that Tennessee's got a really good shot at this. I mean, they practice in the morning, so it's cold here, so I don't think that the weather's going to, should be a factor.
Right.
The second part is I think one of our strengths is our running game, and I think if you look at the Ohio State's defensive front, it's kind of more, they're very strong all in all, but if you're going to have a weakness, that seems to be one that they've had a weak side on. So it gives us a great opportunity to be able to run the ball, and I think when we run the ball effectively, that certainly opens up the passing game and gives us an opportunity to be a very balanced offense.
Hey, the next question is tougher. Can you pronounce Nico's last name?
I just say Nico.
You're like me. Once in a while, I can
say Nico. I know how to pronounce it, but if I butcher it one time, then then it shows up that I don't know how to pronounce it. So I just say Nico. Yeah.
Right, I do too. I try to stay on that course myself. But anyway, how's Nico developed through the season, Heath? What do you think about his play so far?
I think early on, I think it was he was still showing signs as a redshirt freshman. I mean, I know he got a lot of playing time last year, but there's nothing like you
Yes,
being the quarterback, and I've seen the progressions. He wasn't. He didn't feel comfortable in the pocket. He wanted to get out maybe a little too early. And as time has
right,
gone on, I think our offensive line has done a much better job of protecting him first and foremost. But I
right.
also feel that sometimes he was escaping early when he just needed to step up or slide a little bit and stay in the pocket. And I think he's been able to that's really helped us in the passing game because our passing game has certainly improved since he's done that.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a key, especially in the third down, critical third downs up in Ohio against Ohio State, that
Yes.
defense. But I think that Tennessee really has a recipe to win because, as you mentioned, Dylan Sampson, 1,400 plus yards rushing, and the strong defense by Tennessee throughout the year. How's the secondary been for Tennessee this year, Heath, when they've gone
We
against
all
some good
everybody always
teams?
talks about how strong Tennessee's up front seven is, and that has
Yes,
been really good. But in my opinion, if you looked at it going into the season, you would have said that the secondary was the weakest part. Well,
yes.
I think it's been actually its strongest part. I think our
Hmm.
corners have done a fabulous job. I think we've done a really good job at safety, and all in all, anytime you get, I think the defensive front makes obviously the secondary better when you're putting the pressure on the quarterback the way they have. But we we have done a really good job of kind of locking up on receivers and going man to man. So you can't do that without the talented corners that we had. So I certainly believe that the strong spot has really been of the entire team has been our defense, but the shining light has really been our secondary, and they're
When
going to
you
be
watch,
tested. They'll be
oh
tested
yeah,
this week with
oh
some of the best receivers in college ball.
I think so. I happened to cover a Ohio State game against Iowa this year, and they had Jeremiah Smith, that sensational freshman receiver,
Yes.
big and strong and athletic, and the other receiver sensational as well. And I think this game, Ohio State, will be different than they played against Michigan. They're going to try to throw the ball. They did not use the receivers in that game. I
Yeah.
don't know why, but I think Ryan Day's had a chance to reflect, and I think he's probably going to try to
Yeah.
attack Tennessee with the passing game as well.
Yeah. And I
Um,
think they'll put McCoy on their best receivers the way, probably McCoy on Smith and should kind of lock him in. He did a good job against Alabama. I mean, against Williams.
yes,
It kind of locking those guys in. He's been our best corner all year long.
yeah. Brew McCoy, the receiver, came over from Southern Cal and Texas. He's been
Yeah,
a
the other
mainstay
McCoy.
for,
Yes. Yes.
right, the other McCoy, the McCoy's from Tennessee,
Yeah.
right. He's
So
been very good for Tennessee as a wide receiver, Brew.
unbelievable, unbelievable receiver. I think he's just done a phenomenal job. The best attribute that he provides the team is his leadership. He's done a really good job. I mean, it's kind of funny that there was some question about him coming in.
Yes.
What type of, what is he going to be like in the locker room? And I will tell you this: there has not been a better player in the locker room than Brew McCoy. He has done a phenomenal job. His leadership and responsibility he's taken. He's a really tough player. He's played with injuries all season long. And but he's there at practice. He doesn't miss practice. He's on the field and he's ready to go.
He's playing quarterback in the SEC in college football now. It's really a 3 to 5 second situation. What do you do after 3 to 5 seconds in the pocket? Is that a difference from when you played?
I think it depends. I mean, I think David Cutcliffe, who was our offensive coordinator while I was at Tennessee, I mean, some of the things that they're doing today is what we tried to do back then, and it's okay to move in the pocket and try to get the ball down the field by throwing in the pocket, but if not, get out of the pocket, either use your running ability or where it opens up something in the secondary and throw the ball on the run. I think that's why you want those mobile quarterbacks. I think Nico exemplifies that in his game and his style. And I think although it has changed, I mean, you look at Tim Tebow. It's been a few years since he played as well, and I think he was able to get out of the pocket and do those things. And I think that era is going to continue of having those athletic quarterbacks on the collegiate level.
What about Josh Heupel as a big game coach? Have you noticed something in these type of ball games?
Really amazing this year. But what I really like about from a coaching standpoint is how level-headed he is, and he treats every game equally. If you're playing in the college playoffs or you're playing, UT Chattanooga like we played this year, he has that same demeanor, that same work ethic. And it doesn't, I like that as a coach. Former player, you don't like those coaches that,
Yes.
they really ramp up and they change their personality and they get stressed out about a particular team.
Yes.
I like being level headed, and I think that's been truly amazing. And, being able to watch him from afar, but also getting that insight from my son, listening to how he conducts himself, both, at practice and then on game day. And it's, he's the type coach you want your son to go play for.
Hey, Heath, last couple minutes here. We're going to switch gears. Does Congress, and as a former congressman, maybe you can tell us, does Congress have the appetite to do something with the NIL and college sports?
I wish they really would. I think it's, what we're seeing today is not good for college sports. I think the NIL, I do believe that players do deserve to get paid in some capacity. But I think probably the biggest problem that I'm seeing is the transfer portal. And I'm speaking from a son who actually did transfer from Appalachian State to Tennessee. But, I
Yes.
would definitely say that the transfer portal is causing more problems. And, and I'm looking at it from an academic standpoint that, look, so many of these, I think 25% of the kids last year who entered the transfer portal are not in college this year. That is not the type of, that's not the reason why you go play college ball. You go play there to get an education, you get a scholarship to pay for your school. And that is the purpose, and if you get an opportunity to play at the next level, then so be it. But you're talking 1% of the population in college is going to go play in the NFL, get a degree, something that's going to be with you the rest of your life. And, just because you think the grass is greener on the other side and transferring is not always the right case. And, and you mix in with, people bidding on players is just really, it's not the right, the NCAA fell asleep at the wheel, during that process, and they need to fix it.
Yeah, the membership has to take command. People always say the NCAA, but they forget that the NCAA is the membership. So how they came up with this scenario, especially the transfer portal, you're in a playoff game, you're in a bowl game, you're hosting recruits, transfers. I don't see how coaches do it. They have to compartmentalize to the nth degree. I mean, unbelievable what they do as
especially
with
this
their
time.
staffs.
If it ends up changing and they put a salary cap on it, at least in the NFL, if you look at that, there's a, you get a contract. You have to abide by the contract. If not, they can let you go, right? If they let you go, you don't have to pay the money. And with these college kids, what's happening is these coaches are having to recruit them today in high school, recruit them while they're here, and recruit them to stay. And,
Right.
if you're in coaching now, you're trying your best to get to the NFL. I mean, the salaries may be good, but the lifestyle and the life that you're having to live and how you're having to cater to 18 to 19-year-olds is that's really, really tough. That would be a very emotional employment
Right.
if you
Stressful.
in today, very stressful. But that employment would not be the best for your health, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Hey, we want to thank our guest, Heath Shuler, former Tennessee quarterback, NFL quarterback, former congressman from North Carolina. Thank you so much, Heath, and happy holidays to you and your family.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Go Vols.
Pleasure. I'm AP Stedham. Stay at the Aloft Dallas downtown, a Marriott Boutique Hotel within walking distance to favorite attractions, JFK Museum, American Airlines Center, Reunion Tower, and Museum District. Work out their 24-hour fitness center and follow up with a refreshing dip in their pool. Explore the city and return to the hotel's popular WXYZ bar to mingle over cocktails and savory bites. Call 214-761-0000 or visit www.aloftdallasdowntown.com. Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greers.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. And we're back with AP as we see it, and our very special guest, Bob Kesling, the legendary voice of the Tennessee Vols athletic program. And Bob, we want to congratulate you. I know you're going to be retiring, and it's a real pleasure to always have you on our show. So welcome back to AP as we see it, Bob Kesling, voice of the Tennessee Volunteers.
Thanks. Nice to be with you today.
Hey, Bob, I know you're super excited, as I told Heath Schuler, our prior guest, that going to be traveling to Columbus, Ohio. You're an Ohio native. You're going to be broadcasting at the SHU. Does that mean something to you?
Yeah, it did. I grew up in Dayton, and my dad was a drum major at Ohio State, and my sister went to Ohio State, one of the distinguished music alums, and she went on to the Metropolitan Opera. So they've got deep ties to Ohio State. And but when it was time for me to go to school, I was recruited to play football at some small schools like Ohio Wesleyan. And just by happenstance, I had a buddy who was his dad knew Ray Mears, the old basketball coach here, when he was in Springfield coaching at Wittenberg. So they came down to Jeff was going to try and become a manager or walk on the basketball team, which he did. He made the freshman team and then became the manager during the Ernie and Bernie days. And but I just took the ride with him and came down here to Tennessee and cold called the football office, just said, what does it take to walk on the football team? And the secretary said, well, I don't know. Would you like to talk to Coach Battle? I said, well, yeah. I didn't have a program or a piece of film to even prove I played high school football. Coach Battle was such a class guy, and he welcomed me, and we talked and took me down to the freshman running back room where Kurt Watson and Don McCleary were the freshman running back coaches, great running backs at Tennessee.
I remember that.
And they put on some film saying, listen, Condridge Holloway is going to be our quarterback next year, and this is what the offense is going to look like. This is what the fullback does. I said, wow, I just couldn't believe they were so nice. And then they took me back down to Coach Battle's office. He handed me a workout sheet and said, if you can get in school, we'd love to have you. And I was just flabbergasted. And so I called my dad, who was, of course, a big-time Buckeye, and he said, well, if you're going to walk on at a big school, you need to go to Ohio State. And I said, well, Dad, it's cheaper for me to go to Tennessee out of state than it is Ohio State in-state. And he said, go Vols. And so that's how it happened. So I came to Tennessee and haven't left. I've been here since 1972 doing something either with the university or with the Vol Network or doing local TV and radio and Jefferson Pilot, just a bunch of different stuff. I've been blessed and had such a great time in a career, and now being able to make history Saturday night, going to the playoffs and doing it at Ohio State with my dad and my sister's ties there, it's pretty special.
And you've done it very well, but you don't need me to say that because there's plenty of people in line who could say that to you. But
thanks, I appreciate that.
You're welcome, Bob. Bob, how do you categorize this matchup on Saturday night? In about 25-degree weather, I think, right? About 25 degrees.
You know, I don't think the weather's going to affect either team because Tennessee practices in the morning, and last week it was in the 20s here every morning.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, warmed up in the afternoon. So Nico has thrown the ball in cold weather, and they've gone out there and they played. Now they haven't hit in cold weather because you don't hit this time of the year. And when you get cold, those hits, they mount up a lot. I mean, they have a lot more impact when it's cold than when it's warm. But I think the one factor that, and I know the people in Ohio are concerned about, what about the Michigan hangover? And how much is, if you go back and look at Ohio State teams down through the years, when they've lost to Michigan, they haven't fared very well in bowl games. And Tennessee found that out back in the 96 Citrus Bowl after Ohio State had lost to Michigan. And Tennessee beat them in the Citrus Bowl. Now, both those teams had lots of talent, so it was going to be a slugfest anyway. But you could tell that Ohio State just didn't have the same zip, and it'll be really interesting to see how motivated they are. I know a lot of Tennessee fans are trying to make their way to Columbus, and they're gobbling them up all the tickets they can get. So it might not be the home field advantage Ohio State was thinking it might be, but still, Ohio State will be tough to beat in the horseshoe. They always are, and this is different, though, because it's a playoff game. It's not like you're just going to a meaningless bowl game. I mean, this game Saturday night means a lot. And so I would think that Ohio State would be motivated. But so I think it's going to be a good, hard-hitting, low-scoring football game.
Yeah, I think that's the difference. And my question is, will they play loose or tight? Bob, that's what I'm concerned about for them. Yeah.
I think there's a lot more pressure on Ohio State because their fan base is not happy. And the people in Ohio are not happy with how this season ended, losing to Michigan, and And the people that haven't lived in the state of Ohio and Michigan don't really understand just how important that game is, and it's an emotionally draining game, because, in the Ohio State locker room, they got a clock up there that counts down to when the next Michigan game is. So it's beat into them every single day about how important that game is. And when you lose it, you feel like you've let the whole state down. So I'll be really interested to see the emotional aspect of the Ohio State team, but I know Tennessee's going to be motivated.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Hey, Bob, what has surprised you this year about Tennessee? Anything, offense, defense, special teams?
I think the one thing that surprised me is that they haven't had those big, huge chunk plays that we've been so accustomed to when Hendon was here, and even some with Joe Milton last year. I think everybody thought, and probably unjustified and not very fair to Nico, when the season began, he had so much hype and he played so well in the bowl game last year. Everybody thought he was going to be the next Peyton Manning, Hendon Hooker, Heath Schuler rolled into one. And that was just unfair to him. And I think everybody thought he was just going to come out and be throwing 50-yard touchdown passes, all day long. And he was a freshman, and he was going through this for the first time. And he played against Alabama and Georgia for the first time, and it's different when there's so much emotion in those games. So it's been a slow process, probably not as fast as everybody around here had wanted it to be. But the fact that they had to kind of shift gears and go back to running the football a lot. Now, Josh Heupel's whole offense is based on running the ball first and then trying to go over the top with big plays. But they've had to rely more on the running game. But it's still remarkable. They're averaging 232 yards on the ground and about 230 passing the ball. So they've been extremely balanced this year. And so what they want to do, they want to get you to jam that box to stop the run and then throw it over your head. And that's what they'll try and do against Ohio State. But Dylan Sampson, I don't think everybody here thought he was going to be a good running back. He's been sensational. I mean, the number he's put up, he rushed for over 1,000 yards in just SEC games. So think about that. Most of the time when you get a 1,000-yard rusher, they might have 300 yards against a directional school or something like that, and they get over 1,000 in the conference. But he had over 1,000 yards in his 8 SEC games. That's pretty special. And, of course, 22 touchdowns, that's even more special. So he's just really been the workhorse and I've called him the heart and soul of this Tennessee offense, because I don't know where they'd be without Dylan Sampson in the year he's had.
No, he's been the key in the defense as well. Hey, Bob, are there any significant opt-outs in the game at this point that you know about?
No, not for Tennessee, I don't think. They've got they had some backup wide receivers, and but nothing. I don't think there's any guys that have dropped out that they're going to be sorely missed. So, no, I think they're in pretty good shape. And I think most of the ones that have left probably was a good idea.
I should have been shown the door, maybe, possibly. But,
Bob, the players know. I mean, they get out there in the field and they know. You can see it from afar, but the players, they're out there every single day, and they know who the good guys are and the guys that can play and the ones that can't play. And so so it gives these guys an opportunity to go find a new home if they can find a new home. That's one thing about the transfer portal. Everybody thinks I'll go in the transfer portal and everybody will gobble me up. Well, that doesn't happen sometimes unless you're a really good player. And sometimes these guys, nobody's knocking on their door when they go in the portal. So we'll see how that works out for these guys. And that's one of the things that they'll have to iron out with this transfer portal deal. And guys will figure it out eventually when somebody will tell them, hey, listen, I went in the portal and nobody offered me a scholarship, so be careful.
Right.
So I think that's going to happen as we keep evolving this transfer portal and the NIL stuff.
Last minute and a half, Bob. Bob, when you watch Josh Heupel coach in these bigger ball games, do you see a change in his philosophy? No. He
is as consistent a guy day to day as any coach I've ever been around. There are no ups and downs with him. He knows exactly why they won, and he knows exactly why they lost. And he has extreme confidence in himself as a play caller. I mean, he really believes that his offense is elite, and he really gets out there and says, we're going to score, and we're going to try and score in the very first possession. So he's very confident in what his offense looks like and his ability to out-scheme you and draw up plays that are going to score touchdowns. So, but he never seems to get too over the top or, be emotionally down if something doesn't happen right. He believes in preparation every day, and you treat every single game as they're the same. It doesn't matter if you're playing UTEP or you're playing Alabama. You got to do the prep work the same, and I think it's really paid off for him.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Bob, we want to congratulate you, and I hope we have you on the show before you retire. And it'll be after basketball season, right?
Yeah,
right,
that's
Bob?
right. After the Vols go to the Final Four in basketball too, so that'd be good.
Hey, that'll be awesome.
That'd be
Both
great.
teams in the playoffs for basketball and the football would be tremendous. But Bob Kesling, the legendary voice of the Tennessee Vols, and we really appreciate you being on the show. And Bob, have fun in your home state in Ohio. I know it's a big moment for you as well. So we really appreciate it. And we'll be right back after these messages with AP as we see it. Thank you so much, Bob.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greers.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. I'm AP Stedham with Dr. Jason Northcutt of Robertsdale Dental Care.
AP, not only do we offer basic full-service dental treatment, but I also have developed a niche within the practice where I provide comprehensive dental implant services, such as single implants, bone grafting, and full mouth reconstruction. I've been highly trained in those disciplines to offer comfortable and long-lasting solutions to major dental problems.
Come by and see Dr. Jason Northcutt at Robertsdale Dental Care. And we're back with AP as we see it, and our very special guest, a friend of the show, Trevor Groves, the owner, publisher of CUTigers.com. Hey, Trevor, welcome back to AP as we see it.
Hey, AP, great to see you again, my friend.
Oh, awesome. And every year, Clemson is in the playoffs. It seems like, Trevor, you've been having a great run. I think you're the lucky charm, Trevor. Is that true?
Well, that's what I used to tell Dabo, because my first 6 years, my first year covering Clemson in the media was 2015, which started that 6-year playoff run. In fact, they won their first 14 games that I covered before losing to Alabama in that championship. So I used to always tell Dabo that I was his lucky rabbit's foot, and he should be giving me some of that money. But these last 3 years, it's doesn't, for most people, that wouldn't be a long drought from the playoff. I mean, you think, my gosh, you think of how many programs have never even made the playoff for Pete's sake. But I think Clemson, the Clemson fan base got spoiled by that run, and so the 3-year drought seemed like an eternity to a lot of Clemson fans.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Hey, Trevor, one thing that I found fascinating about this matchup is it's the very first time these two programs have met.
Yeah, absolutely. First all-time meeting, which is amazing when you think of the history of both programs. I mean, Texas is top 5 all time in wins. Clemson, I think, is 13th all time in wins, just past Auburn this season, with over 800 wins now. And so, I don't know how they have somehow managed never to cross paths in a bowl game at some point in the past, but here we are. It's a great venue for the first all time meeting, and one of the two programs is going to have bragging rights. Clemson's the only program in the country that has an all-time winning record against Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Oklahoma. If they beat Texas, I'm not sure we could add Texas that, because one meeting and caveat asterisk with those 3 programs, they played at least 3 games, so it's a decent. It's not just a one-off, Yes.
Yes.
So
it's so impressive.
Yeah. But if Clemson wins the first meeting with Texas, that would be a pretty big feather in their cap, but it's going to be tough for sure. I mean, having to go on the road and do it in front of that crowd, it's going to be a tough task for sure.
Clemson fans, will they try to buy every ticket? I know that Tennessee traveling to Ohio State, that's been a concern by the athletic director from Ohio State, but I know Clemson fans, they travel very well. They're extremely loyal.
Oh, absolutely. Clemson fans travel, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to pick them out in the stands between the burnt orange and the Clemson
Yes.
orange. Actually, technically, I don't know if they changed it, but back in the day, Clemson's official colors were burnt orange and northwestern purple. So
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
not,
Wow.
yeah, I'm not sure if that's still the official as burnt orange, because obviously it's a different shade of orange than Texas,
Yes.
but yeah, I expect a good crowd from Clemson, but obviously it's going to be they're going to have to give them something to cheer for, and try to take that Texas crowd out of the game, because it's going to be quite an advantage for the Horns.
Mhm. I know this is an ACC SEC matchup, and I know the ACC, as always, they love to beat the SEC, so I think that's important
Sure.
for them. Another intriguing fact for me is the fact that your quarterback, Cade Klubnik, is from Austin, Texas, and he's beaten Quinn Ewers a couple of times in high school. Is that correct?
Yep. Yep. Playing in his backyard. That was, in fact, after they beat SMU, I had a feeling that the committee was going to send Clemson to Austin, just for the storyline. But yeah, Cade playing, and of course he's played in Darrell Royal Stadium in high school. In fact, Dabo's the only time Dabo's ever set foot in that stadium was when Cade was a senior in high school. Dabo watched him win a playoff game there. I think it was against Vandergrift. Cade, of course, played for Westlake, storied high school program, won 3 state championships there. But Dabo was in the end zone with Steve Sarkisian watching Cade play in that high school game. So that's pretty cool that was Dabo's first experience there. But obviously, Cade will be in familiar territory. So, that might be somewhat of an advantage, just having that familiarity. But also, I look at the other guys on Clemson's roster from Texas. Bryant Wesco, the amazing true freshman wide receiver who's had a great season. He's from Texas. RJ Mickens, senior captain safety. He's from Texas. Redshirt freshman offensive lineman Harris Sewell, whose uncle, by the way, is Will Kane. I don't know if you're familiar with Will Kane. He's formerly worked for ESPN. Now he's on Fox News as a personality.
Okay. Okay.
But Harris Sewell played high school. Sewell actually played at the Friday Night Lights high school that was featured in that movie.
Oh, is it Perriman?
Yeah,
Perriman?
yep. So all those guys are going to be super amped to play in that stadium for sure.
Now, there's a transfer from Clemson that plays for Texas, correct? He was a pretty significant player.
The transfer, you're talking about the one they just got?
I think there's one play for Texas, Clemson. There's a player that went from Clemson to
that
Texas.
plays for Texas. Yeah, Makuba, right.
Makuba, right?
That's obviously another storyline. He had an amazing. He was a freshman All-American at Clemson at safety, but decided that he wanted to go back home. He grew up in Austin, like you said, and it's kind of a surprise, frankly, during his recruitment that he chose Clemson. It was during the COVID period, and Dabo never even got to meet him face to face during his recruitment. But for whatever reason, he just, decided he liked everything about Clemson and wanted to play for Dabo. And like I said, had a great freshman season, but decided to go back home and play for the Horns. And he's had a great season. He's second on the team in tackles and has 4 interceptions and a forced fumble. So he's a big reason that Texas secondary is, arguably the best in the country. That Texas defense as a whole might be the best defense in the country, as a matter of fact.
Trevor, line up the stars for me. How can Clemson win?
Well, they're going to have to get off to a first and foremost, they're going to have to put together 4 quarters. And like Dabo has said a few times now, they've yet to do that this season. They have not played their best. They've done it for 1 or 2 quarters, or maybe even 3 this season. But, for whatever reason, they, even before that Louisville loss, they won 6 straight games before the bye and blew everybody out, and it was against, wasn't against the greatest competition, but the offense was, but even in those games, they got off to real fast starts, built a huge, 40 or 50 point lead at halftime, and then took out all the starters for the second half. So even in those games, and then the backups would come in and not do as well. So even in those games, they didn't put together 4 quarters, but they will have to do that to win this game, in my estimation, because Texas is that good. They're a complete team. They've got the huge crowd advantage that we talked about. So Clemson will have to be able to put it, not get off to they'll have to get off to a fast start like they did against SMU in the ACC championship in Charlotte. built up a 17-point lead in that game, which was SMU's biggest deficit of the season. But then they obviously let SMU back into it, and the rest is history. We got the fantastic, thrilling finish that we got. But I think Clemson's going to have to get off to a strong start, both offensively and defensively, kind of mitigate that crowd advantage, kind of take them out of the game. Right. And then if they can do that, then they have to finish, and they can't allow. I mean, even if they get up by 17, which I doubt, they can't let Texas, creep back into it and make it a ball game and get that crowd back involved. So, and they're gonna have to win the turnover margin. I mean, they've done that all season long. They're number 5 in the country in turnover margin, which is to me the biggest difference between this season and last season. I mean, if they did that last season, they were a playoff team. But the turnovers just plagued them last season, especially catastrophic turnovers. But they've been doing a great job. Even the South Carolina loss a couple of weeks ago, they won the turnover margin in that game, and it's extremely rare for them to lose a game when they do that. But so they do those two things. I think they've got a shot, but it's going to be a tight game, even if they do.
Oh, last minute and a half, Trevor. Trevor, what's a surprise if somebody's never watched Clemson about this edition of the Tigers and they face Texas? I mean, playoff game. It's new for everybody. What's the surprise about this Clemson team that maybe somebody never watched them?
I would say some people might be surprised by how well they've done offensively this season, especially if you look at the last 3 years. Going back to DJ when he was quarterback, they had national championship caliber defenses, but their offense certainly struggled. I mentioned the turnover plague that they had last season, but also injuries. A lot of people don't realize how many injuries they had the last 3 years during that playoff drought, especially at wide receiver. I mean, they're actually absolutely plagued with wide receiver injuries, and so they have more depth at wide receiver this season. Obviously, I mentioned Bryant Wesco, the freshman, and also TJ Moore, the other true freshman, who's had a great season. By the way, just as a side note, probably a lot of people are going to make a big deal about the fact that Dabo signed his first wide receiver from the transfer portal a couple days ago. And while it is a big deal because he's never done that, in fact, he's only had 2 transfers from the portal, and they were both backup quarterbacks, Hunter Johnson and Paul Tyson from Alabama. Yes. The only reason really Dabo did that was because he had 2 receivers enter the portal in the last few weeks. Troy Stellato and then Noble Johnson, the freshman from Texas, entered the portal last week. So, but that kid's from Georgia, Tristan Smith, played in the FCS last season, had a great season. He's got great size. He's 6'5", 205. So it'll be interesting to see how he fits in into the mold when he comes in. But getting back to your original question, the offense has been much better this season than it has been the last 3 years. But the defense, to me, that's the most startling thing. And while I think the defense is better than their numbers and their rankings, they're number 73 in run defense. We're just not used to that at Clemson. All those years under Brent Venables. I mean, even the last 3 seasons, they've had top 10 run defenses. Same thing with third down. They're number 41 third down on opponents' third down conversions. We're used to them being top 10 year in, year out. They're number 25 in sacks with almost 3 sacks a game. So that's not too far of a drop off. But they've, since 2018, they've led the nation in sacks. So. Oh yeah,
Trevor, we've got to get going, unfortunately, but we want to thank you, Trevor Groves, the owner publisher of CUTigers.com. We want to thank our other guests, Heath Schuler and Bob Kessling, both from Tennessee. And we'll be back next week with another edition of AP As We See It. Thank you.